thing on their shirt. I didn't have one, so I went back and made one. So I don't forget, sometime every night. And also put down your favorite book. And my favorite book is The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrew. If you ever get a chance to read it, I think you really enjoy it. It's not just an old person book. I think if you haven't read that before, I think you get a lot out of that book, other than the Bible. He's a Christian author, but this is not necessarily a Christian book that tells it from a Christian worldview and a Christian perspective. Anyway, tonight we're going to continue, I hope, in studying the book of Hebrews. I hope, I say I hope, because I wasn't here previously. I hope that we come to chapter 11, maybe sometime recently in the past, and we're going to pick up tonight in chapter 12. And in chapter 11, there were a lot of heroes of the faith in the Old Testament, especially we mentioned. And the book of Hebrews, if you guys are familiar with it, and surely if we talked at all about Hebrews, this book was written to Jewish believers. And these Jewish believers were going through some persecution, some hard times. And because of that, they were beginning to question or beginning to wonder, is this new thing that's come along, is it really worth it? Why can't I just go back to where I was? And, I think earlier in Hebrews it talks about, if you've tasted of the Holy Spirit, you've taken all these things in and you turn back, if you fall from grace is the way he puts it. It's not talking about falling into sin. It's talking about falling back into the law, back into Judaism. It says you crucify Christ again. So basically what he's saying is if you travel down this path, and I think he's talking to genuine believers, even in this specific verse he mentioned now. He's talking about genuine believers. They turn their back on Jesus and go back to what they've been before. They're crucifying him again. They're holding him up as if he can content. In other words, what they're saying is, I agree with what happened to Jesus in the first place. He is not who he said he was. But the writer in Hebrews is trying to encourage these people to keep going and to keep trudging on in their faith. And part of that encouragement was talking about the Old Testament heroes that we see in chapter 11. It's called the Hall of Fame of Heroes of the Faith. And in chapter 12, we're going to pick up tonight, we'll go through here and start in verse 1. Let's do kind of a running commentary. And by the way, I may not know the answers, but if you have questions, please stop. Because a lot of times I'm like a record player. You put the needle down, which I don't know what that is. You put the needle down on the record player, and you spin, and it just plays till it's over. And it's like, okay, I'm done. But anyway, chapter 12, verse 1, we start. Therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. So let's stop right there and go back. Therefore, and then, everybody knows therefore. You say therefore, you go back and say, what's therefore? The people that was talking about in the previous chapter, the Lord will tie together and says, because we're surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses, all these Old Testament heroes of the faith that were mentioned in chapter 11. All these guys, they persevered. They were people of faith. And they lived a life that was successful in the eyes of God. Some of them had several diversions that came along. Some of them looked at it and thought, I'm not so sure about this is that. So Samson did one of them. Samson had his problems. That's one thing about God. I'm glad I wasn't a character in the Bible. Let me just say that real quick. Because God would show you all the bad things about me. And for all eternity, it's recorded for everybody to read and see. I kind of like keep my bad stuff secret, maybe like you do too. But if God had used us as a character in the Bible, he would have shown us worse than all he did Samson. But Samson was listed in the Hall of Fame. And we talk about Gideon, we talk about Moses, we talk about Joseph and Noah, and all these heroes of faith. So therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, all these people are surrounded. And the imagery here is the Greek games where you have the arena. You're seated in your stance and you're cheering on the riders. Now I know that theologically and biblically that's not correct. These guys are not carrying over the advantages of heaven looking at us as we live in our life. That's not the way it works. But I think the analogy will still hold for us, and we'll see why in just a moment. Since they're not looking down at us, we're looking back at them. If they could do it, we can too. If they can be successful in their walk, we can too. If this missionary can suffer and die for the love of Jesus, we can too. If they can be ostracized by people and shunned by those that are surrounding them, we can make them says, therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and sin so easily entangled, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out. Let me lay some ground rules first of all. This race that we're talking about here, this is not a race to Christianity, per se, okay? This is not the way to salvation. This is not a religion that works. If you do a good job, if you run the race, if you're dedicated to the cause, if you're really faithful to the very end, salvation will be yours. That's not it at all. If that's what you're looking for, you're not even in the race. There's some things that are already assumed here, and one of those is that he's writing to believers. And as believers, we're reading this and taking encouragement from it. So the first thing is we're not running this race to achieve salvation. This race that he's talking about, this race is Christian maturity. It's the culmination of our faith. And the track that we're running on is our life. You see, we've got a hopefully a marathon race, but it's not a sprint. It's a race that there's some friends of mine at the gym. They talked about they went to I think it was Atlanta. They found in Atlanta and somewhere in Tennessee. I think they're called Tough Mudder runs. I never ran one. I ran some races before. But those of you maybe are familiar with it, and correct me if I'm wrong, these are the ones like you run like some distance race, and there's obstacles in it too. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that you got to conquer to get through it. So I mentioned the race that is being illustrated here, being highlighted with a Tough Mudder run. It's a race that has some length to it and requires some perseverance on the runner's part. But it also requires us to deal with some obstacles as we go along. But again, keep in mind that the track that we're on is our life. The finish line is spiritual maturity. That's where God is pushing us. That's where Jesus wants us to be. And the finish line, the trophy, is a well-done, good and faithful servant by none other than the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He'll meet us there at the finish line. When we finish our race, but there's going to be a lot of chances for us to get derailed. There'll be chances for us to say, you know what? I'm tired. I don't want to run anymore. God said, keep going. Keep going. You've got lots of people back behind you that are cheering you on. We can look back to these folks in the Old Testament and the New Testament now and get encouragement from them as they ran the race. So let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles us. The idea here is that if we're going to enter this race, if we're going to participate in this race, it's not going to happen by accident. I was talking with my son the other day. He loves to fish. Cameron, some of you guys know him. He loves to fish, and they were camping last weekend up at Connersville with his wife's family. They rented an RV. And he got up, and I said, I bet you got up early. This was Sunday morning. They were leaving Sunday morning. He and his wife would come to our house and shower on their way to church. And so I said, I bet you got up early this morning and went fishing. He said, yeah, but not on purpose. I thought, how do you go fishing by accident? That just can't happen. Well, by the way, we can't run this race by accident either. And I think it's indicative here that says, look, so throw off everything that hinders us and sin so easily entangles. So there's some actions that we're going to have to do. If we're going to win this race, if we're going to succeed in this race that's being laid out for us to spiritual maturity where God wants us to be, we've got to be intentional about it. It can't happen by accident. No more than you can wander down to the river's edge and catch fish by accident. There's some things you have to do to prepare for it. It says, throw off those things, those weights that, let's say it's a different version here, so let's throw off everything that hinders us. When you see someone getting ready to run a distance race, whether it be a 5K, 10K, marathon, or whatever, you typically don't see guys showing up in overalls and work boots. Not even for their warm-ups. You'll see somebody in the lightest clothing they can wear, sometimes a little too light. That's a different story. They show up in as light of clothing as they can wear, and their shoes. A lot of times these guys wear these shoes. The guys that are really serious about it, not my knees, because listen, I ain't got the money for it. The guys that are really serious about it, they got their running shoes, their race shoes, and they got their training shoes. And the race shoes are special. They put them on for the race. They're really super light. They don't last very long, but they're not intended to. But they strip down to the bare essentials, and they run the race, and they're very purposeful about it. They don't carry anything that's going to slow them down. And these are things that we're talking about here. These things that will entangle us, this is not necessarily a sin. This is not drugs, alcohol, whatever you want to call it. Whatever the sin may be, think of it your own self. These are not sins. These are things, though, that would get us off balance in our Christian walk, that in and of themselves are not bad, but they can hinder us from becoming what we want to be. A lot of things can do that. You know, and you guys' age group here at school can become that. You know, as a parent of a college student, my kids both graduated last May. One of them's going back for the master's. Let me tell you, I want you to be serious about your studies, okay? But don't let that become your God. Don't let that take the place of God in your life. Work. For those of you who maybe have graduated, gone and got jobs, or maybe you're working now while you're traveling and going through your school years. Don't let work become your God. It's a lousy God. Don't let pleasure become your God. Whatever it is, you've got to finally figure it out for yourself in your life. Whatever it is, it's not necessarily sin on its own, but anything that would hinder us, would prevent us from becoming what God has to be. We have to be purposeful about that. We have to throw it off. This is not something necessarily God will do for us. You know, I remember I used to think, well, I got saved, man, everything would be great. Man, I have no more temptations for sin. It would be all so wonderful. I wish that were true, but it's not. We have to be purposeful about it. We have to be willing to say, okay, you know, I still have these temptations. God, with your grace and your help, I'll resist this. I won't let this become the focus of my life. So we'll throw all those things that would slow us down and hinder us. And then the sin that so easily entangled us. Now this, in some of the older versions, if you have a King James Bible, I like the word used there, besetting sins. These are things that are particular, so the besetting sins. I think it's particular for each individual. Look, for example, I've never had a problem with drug or alcohol use. Now, you could lay 500 pounds of cocaine in that chair up there, and if it was just me, you know, 10, 20, 100 years later, if it was just me, it'd still be there. Unless it rotted and went away, I don't know what happens. I don't have a problem with drugs. I don't have a problem with alcohol. I don't have a problem with a lot of sins, but I have a problem with sins. You know what my biggest sin problem is? Yes? Well, I can tell you. I'm not going to tell you yours. I'm not actually telling yours either. But you know what it is. The things that are going to derail you. There are some sins that you are more susceptible to than others. And given a set of circumstances, you will have a real battle that sometimes it becomes a stronghold. If it becomes a stronghold, it's even bigger battle. God can help you with that too. But if He asks us to throw those things off, those sins would easily entangle us, let us run with perseverance the race marked out. The perseverance part, that's a long distance run. We're not going to run for a few minutes and give it up. And it's marked out for us. Everybody has a different course. You know, I said a moment ago that the race is for spiritual maturity, and the path we take is our life. Everybody's life is different. But you know what? We have interaction with one another, so our life paths go across. We do life together, whether we like it or not. And there are no castaways here on this earth. We're all mingling and working together, so our paths across. We'll have to run alone at times, but to run with others. Let me tell you, it's much easier to run with others. You have encouragement. You can take encouragement from those other people. And not just running a race on the road. I'm talking about our lives as we move toward Christian maturity. Let us run the person as a race marked out. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith, who for joy set before him endured the cross, scorning his shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Look, the only way we can run this race and be successful is if we keep our eyes focused on Jesus. If we get distracted, if we look around, there'll always be something that looks fun. I got a cat that I'll walk on all these. That's kind of weird, I know. But I know that she's a sweet cat, you know. I love her to death. It's just a strange story I want to know. Magnolia is easily distracted. She sees a squirrel. UPS guy comes up. Boom, scared to death, that one's gone. Things will distract us, but we've got to keep our eyes focused on Jesus. That's who. He is the pioneer. He's the one that started our race for us. He's the one that saved us. He's the one that died for us. And by the way, He ran His race to perfection. All the obstacles that we face. The Bible says that Jesus was a man, it's like we are. He's tempted in all points. He knows what it's like. He knows what it's like to be a 10-year-old kid that runs around and wondering what to do with his mom when she calls him into play. He knows what it's like to have friends that don't quite understand him. He did everything. He knows what it's like to be college age and deal with temptations that you go through. He was tempted in all points, just like we are, yet without sin. He's the one that ran the race first. He's the one that showed us the way. So if we start to get distracted, look back to Jesus. Focus back on Him. He's the pioneer, the one that the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Listen, the Romans crucified Jesus on the cross, and the crucifixion was a brutal way to die. I've never seen one in real life. I've seen the movie, the crucifixion, but it looked horrible even there. The crucifixion was a brutal way to die, but it's also a very shameful way to die because it was typically identified with murderers and thieves and people of the lowest form of life. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, typically you restricted your clothing, so there was shame involved in that too. Jesus had to walk with his cross on his back, and he looked beyond what he had to suffer because he knew that the finish line for him was redemption for his creation, and he got to sit back down with his Father at his right hand. So he looked past all of that shame. And I used to think that, he's Jesus. So really, how bad could it be? He knew that he was he's going to hurt for a bit, and he's going to die, he's going to have to take the weight of our sin. But, it's okay. He knows 3 days later he's going to rise from the grave, he's going to go back to heaven sometime after that. But then you start thinking about, but the pain, the physical pain is real. Probably more real for him than it would be for us. There's a lot into that. I don't know if I understand all of it. But the worst part of it all is the fact that Jesus was without sin. He had never sinned not one single time in his whole life. And when he went to the cross, he knew what sin was. Remember when Jesus was hanging on the cross, and I'm sure you guys have heard this a million times, but I remember one time I heard it a million times myself, and I finally heard it and I realized the importance, the actual significance of it. When Jesus was hanging on the cross, throughout his life, Jesus addressed God as Father. When he was hanging on the cross, and my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He couldn't even address his Father as Father. It was my God. Because he was separated. The fellowship that he enjoyed with his Father was severed at that point because he had sinned. And see, that's what sin does. It separates us from God. It prevents us from being in fellowship with our Lord and God. And Jesus at that point had our sin on his shoulders. And because of that, he couldn't even address his heavenly Father as he did right time. My God, why have thou forsaken me? At that point, God had turned his back on his one and only Son. He couldn't look at him because of sin. Now, we do know that 3 days later, things changed. It was a lot different after that. But let's see. God perfected our faith and rejoiced that when he endured the scorning and the shame, sat down by him and consider him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Now, this is an idea here that, when you run in a race, there'll be plenty of times to quit. I remember hearing Brother Jimmy on occasion talk about, don't ever take the first opportunity to quit. Unless it's something you should quit. Something in the world, something like that. You should quit. Okay, take the first opportunity to quit. As a matter of fact, make an opportunity to quit. But if it's something that you know is right, if you're living a righteous life and you just get discouraged, quit today. At least put it off till tomorrow. If not tomorrow, make you encouraged by something. But don't take the first opportunity. But don't grow weary in well-doing. In your struggle, and don't lose heart. That's the other thing is, man, don't lose your faith. Keep your heart strong. So as you're struggling in sin, you're not yet resistant to the point of shedding your blood. This is kind of a little bit of a chastisement for them. Again, the writer here is encouraging these folks, man. Don't turn your back on God. Don't go back to the Judaism. That was their temptation, remember, was to turn their back on Jesus and go back to the familiar religion that they left. They left the rule of the law, the legalism of Judaism, and accepted Christianity. Don't lose faith in that. Don't grow weary about it. But you know what? I just see the writer here, and maybe it was me, and I said, okay, let's do a body count. That'd be 0. You don't look too lively, but you're still breathing. Nobody here is resistant to the point of blood. You're all still living. So he's kind of encouraging here that you're struggling against sin. You're not yet resistant to the point of shedding your blood. Remember what Jesus did. He died on the cross. You have forgotten the word of encouragement that addresses you as sons. My son, do not make light of the Lord's listen, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you. Because the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he punishes everyone he accepts as a son. Let's read through this and we'll go back to talking. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as sons. For what son is not disciplined by his father? If you're not disciplined, and everyone goes disciplined, then you are illegitimate children and not true sons. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of our spirits and live? Our fathers disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines us for our good, that we may share in his holiness. No discipline seems pleasant at the time and painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. So he's admonishing these people now. He says, look, I know you're going through a difficult time, but consider this difficult time as discipline. Our Heavenly Father is disciplining us, is strengthening us to carry us through the life that he would have us to live. He said, my son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline. There's several things that we can do with God's discipline. The first one here is we can make light of it. But don't. If God is disciplining us for something that we've done wrong, we should make light of that. We should take that as a serious calling card. I think there's levels of probably not much of discipline. God's discipline is always redemptive. Let's start out with that, okay? Whenever God disciplines us, it's always to correct our behavior. He's never in the mode of, man, I'm coming, wear them out. Hey, his wrath is reserved for those who refuse to accept Jesus Christ as their Savior. God does have wrath. We'll see some more about that in just a little bit. God's wrath is real. But his discipline on us as believers, as children, is not out of his wrath. It's out of his desire for us to grow up in him and to be more like him. You know, I'll give you a couple of examples here and we'll go back to our scripture. God disciplines those he loves, and he doesn't discipline those that are not his children. When I was a kid, I remember a couple of instances. So I get one when I was young and one when I was older. When I was very, 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 very young, I heard a word that you probably shouldn't use in Sunday school. And I heard that word and I thought, that's pretty cool. People just like, kind of word, I can talk like that too. And I did. And my mom found out about it. And then we went on a whaling expedition. Now, there's a lot of things that I'm guilty of in my life, and I thank my mother. I could go out here today and smash my finger with a hammer. I won't cuss. I won't. I mean, I may be dadgum near dead, but I'm not going to cuss. Because my mother taught me better than that. She heard that, and it was a time of wailing and gnashing teeth. I really kind of thought, she's going to start over with a new song tomorrow because I'm not going to make it through this. You know, washing my mouth out with soap would have been one thing. I think I would have welcomed that by the time we were all through. But I was her son. There was other kids out there. Other kids probably taught that. I was the one that was her son. She put the kibosh to that real quick. Now, as a result of that, I don't have a problem like that. I'm not going to say that. I never will say anything back. I'll probably get something to happen tonight, and I'll say something. Where did that come from? That's completely out of my character, though. Not because I'm some good person. I've got my own sins, okay? Just like you did. And one of my sins previous to that, because I didn't talk that way. First time I talked that way, well, they said, I was judging them. God may have been in their heart bigger than mine. Here I was judging them for saying something that was a little off color. I don't have a problem with that because my mother fixed it for me really young. Another instance, my parents again, because I'm their child, they disciplined me. My cousin and I had gone out to we'd gone out there with these twin girls, and they were friends. My parents were friends with their parents, and it just so happened that my parents were at their house when we went to pick them up. And we went over and we went out and had a good time until my car broke down. And when my car broke down, I thought it best that they go home with some friends of theirs, so they did. And my cousin ran out of the car fixed. We went out and we found some more girls that we went out with, and we came home and it was late because my car kept messing up. My cousin said, yeah, it was going weird. And my cousin said, Mark, I tell you what, if you want to, I'll go home and explain because of your dad. I'm not worried about daddy, I believe. That was never a problem. I was always pretty straight with my dad. That's not so good. So I went home and sure, they explained that problem. We didn't have a problem like that. And first thing I told him, Daddy, I'm sorry, I'm late. I said, no, stop right there. I'm not the least bit upset with you and been late. He said, if you ever take a young lady out on a date, you better be with her when she comes home. It took me a long time to exactly understand the full effect of that until I had a young lady who got on today. And guys, by the way, this is a tip for you. When you ask a young lady out on a date, her mother and dad have spent their life protecting her. While they're in her home, while they're in their care, she is in their protection. When they agree to let you take her out, you are her protection. In all likelihood, you're not going to follow zombies or biker gangs or anything like that. But you can't defend her and protect her from your own stupidity and hers. So that's kind of what they expect. I finally really understand when my daughter started dating. But they didn't correct, my dad didn't correct my cousin, he corrected me. He was one of them. If you did that, this is not something you did because you're my son. So God does discipline us. And he disciplines us to make us into the image of his son. He wants us to be the people that he wants us to be. He wants us to be godly, young man, old man, whatever it is. My son, do not make light of words. This when we make light of it, this that's no big deal. We lose heart when he refuses. We can just get all bent out of shape and just think, man, you know what, this is really not worth it. Not only do I have to deal with all the problems of life that everybody else does, but also got to deal with the ostracization coming from being a Christian. These guys weren't really the punishment. In all likelihood, they were probably not allowed to go into synagogue anymore. Some of their neighbors probably didn't want to speak to them anymore because they were now Christian instead of good Jews. And probably couldn't buy their stuff at some places that closed the door and turned away. They suffered under death. They were still on some punishment, I don't know what punishment I'm saying that, some persecution was, but one that they could do at this point. So we can make a lot of God's discipline. We can just get overwhelmed by it, but we can endure it. We can endure hardship as discipline. And that's what he said here in verse 7. He says, endure hardship until God is treating you as son. One son is not disciplined by his father. If you're not disciplined, everyone undergoes discipline, then you're illegitimate children, not true son. Listen, if we can go through life and do anything we want to do, and we don't feel the conviction of God's hand and on our hearts, and if we don't see the consequences of sin, then we need to do a check of it. That's bad news. Because God loves us. And I'd say a lot of times, it just takes the conviction of God to turn our hearts around. And sometimes we're struggling, there's consequences for sin, and God will allow those consequences to come in our lives. And sometimes they're bad consequences. Those are the things that it should force us to turn our hearts back to what we confess and repent. And come back to God. But if we can endure it, if you're not disciplined and everyone undergoes discipline, then you're illegitimate children, not true son. That's a sure sign that we're saying that we can live our lives any way we choose to do so and not be convicted by it. There's a problem there. Moreover, we've all had human problems with discipline, and we respect them for it. Listen, I do. I respect my mother and daddy tremendously for what they taught me. And we respect them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of our spirits and live? Our Father disciplines for a little while, as they taught best, but God disciplines for our good. And we may share His holiness. His whole goal here is to make us holy. Our parents are imperfect. There's no doubt in my mind. My sister, Patrol, when we were growing up, she got me in trouble. I didn't really need any help. I got plenty on my own. But my sister was always willing to help get me in trouble. And I'm sure that there were some discipline spankings that I got that I really didn't deserve because the trouble was on. But, God's not like that. When He disciplines us, He got the right person. We got to admit, Mom and Daddy might make a mistake. God doesn't. He knows what we've done. He knows where we are. He knows where we live and where we're going home. When He corrects us, He's right about it. He disciplines us for our own good. And when they share in His holiness, He wants us to be holy like He is holy. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Last thing that can happen from God's discipline, we be trained by it. That's the ultimate goal. And God doesn't want to beat on us every day or something and we never figure it out. He wants us to be trained by it, to understand that his goal is to make us holy as we can be, Christians as mature as we can possibly be. In verse 12, therefore, strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees, make level paths for your feet, so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. And here it is an encouragement again. Have you ever seen anybody run in a distance race? And I've never ran in a marathon, so I don't know what it's like. But they say that there comes a point where you hit the wall, and at that point, when you see these guys, and I've seen them on TV before, they're just staring around, you know. It's like, what he's trying to tell them is like, lift your knees, pick your arms up, get back in shape here, run with purpose. He said, don't just be flailing your arms around. It's encouraging us to run the race the way we're taught to run it. Now, it's an endurance race. We get tired, I know that. So therefore, strengthen your knee and your feet arms. Run right, and make level paths for your feet, so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. So what we're doing is as we run our race, we're showing others, hey, it can be done. You know, there's some people that we associate with that are weaker than us. We may not recognize it. And I'm not talking about physical weakness. I'm talking about spiritual weakness. They might not be as far along in their Christian maturity as we are. And if they see us falter and fail, and they see us flailing our arms and our knees buckling because of the discipline that God is bringing in our lives, they'll be discouraged by it. But if we can endure it, and if we can be encouraged by the fact that God loves us and he's pushing us in the right direction, and we keep on going, you know what? They can follow us, and they can do that too. They can make it tomorrow. It never ceases to amaze me, you know, about leaders. Where are leaders coming from? What makes somebody a leader? I think sometimes that leaders are just people that just by virtue of the fact that they show up and are willing to take a stand, they become leaders. Hopefully they're good leaders. I've seen people that are completely wrong. You guys don't know this, but way many years back, a guy named Jim Jones, and people followed him to New Guinea or somewhere like that, he came out. And they all wound up dead. It was some kind of cult. They would drink the Kool-Aid and die. He was a charismatic leader. They followed the wrong leader. But if we're good leaders, if we're godly people will follow us too. We need to be that. People need to be able to look at us and say, no, there's something different about this. We don't compromise. And it's easy to go the wrong way. We stand up and we do what's right, even when it's not convenient to do so. We can become leaders. Make level paths for feet, so that the lame may not be disabled. The lame here is the weak, he's talking about, but rather be healed. Make every effort to live in peace with all men and be holy. Holy cow, another one day. Make every effort to live in peace with all men and be holy. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. See to it that no one misses the grace of God, and no bitter root goes up to cause trouble and foul men. Listen, it's not always easy. We can always live in peace with everybody. Some folks can just disagree with us, but it's lies within us. Live in peace with them. We have to cow down anybody. We don't have to compromise our principles. But as much as possible, don't be argumentative. Live for God. And keep moving on as much as you can. Live in peace with them. Let's move on real quick. See that no one is sexually immoral. This is in verse 16. See that no one is sexually immoral or godless like Esau, who for a single meal sold his inheritance rights as the oldest son. Afterwards, you know, he wanted to inherit the blessing and he rejected. He could bring no change of mind, but we saw the blessing with you. There are some things that once we do, we can't undo. There are some things that we can repent of it. And in some versions of the Bible, it talks about Esau seeking repentant material he couldn't find, he couldn't bring to repentance. Esau was sorry for what his consequences were. And he couldn't change that. He lost his birthright. He sold it cheaply. Don't sell your virtue. Don't sell your Christian walk for some cheap old suit. God alive, and don't be sold out cheap. Do not come to the mountain and be touched as the burning of fire, as burning fire in darkness, gloom, and storms, and trumpet blast. Let's slow down and go through it again. You have not come to a mountain that can be touched, that is burning with fire, with darkness, gloom, and storms, with a trumpet blast, or such a voice speaking words. Those who heard it begged that no further word be spoken to them, because they could not bear what was commanded. If even an animal touches the mountain, it must be stoned. The sight was so terrifying. Moses said, I trembled in fear. What this is talking about is Mount Sinai. God came down to be close to the Ten Commandments. It was a very scary time. 3,000 people died. It was a very frightening time. You could see it. Lightning was flashing, the clouds were rolling in, and God's voice was booming like thunder, and trumpets were sounding. It was all together scary. The earth was quaking. This is God giving the law. And this is a true vision of God. God is just, God is holy, God will tell us the law. He gives it. And that's as much part of God as the next section we're going to see real quick. We'll close with this. See to it that you but you have come, verse 22, but you have come to Mount Zion, to the heavenly Jerusalem, the city of the living God. You have come to thousands upon thousands of angels in joyful assembly to the church of the firstborn, whose names are written in heaven. You have come to God, the judge of all men, to the spirits of righteous men made perfect, to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel. Let's go back real quick and we'll close it. Remember, the writer is encouraging Jewish believers to not go back to the old way, the Jewish traditions of the Jewish religion. And to do this, he gives both as an illustration from Mount Sinai, where the law was given, and Mount Zion, where Jesus is crucified. Both are needed. Without the law, without Mount Sinai, without Mount Sinai, we wouldn't understand Mount Zion. We've got to understand what sin is before we need to need the Savior. And he's trying to explain to these guys, look, you're moving from what God was as the lawgiver to where God is now, the Savior. This was his purpose in the whole thing. He gave us the law so we can understand what sin is. He gave us Jesus as a cure for that sin. And when Jesus died on that cross, he took care of the law for all who would trust him. There'll be no more judgment for us. We still have the law, and we still have sin that we commit. But listen, our sin has already been judged. It was all put on Jesus when he died. When we accept Jesus as our Savior, every sin we ever have committed, ever will commit, or are committed, will be judged at that point. And because of that, we can have heaven. We can have salvation. That's what salvation is. It's the reconciliation of man and God. That was God's point from the very beginning. All through the ages, that was his goal. Was to reconcile his creation, his masterpiece, with himself. And the only way he could do that, because God is holy, and God is just, he had to take care of that sin problem. And he did. By giving that on his son, Jesus Christ. And with that, we're going to stop. I apologize. There was a lot more here, and I got bogged down into some of the other stuff. I appreciate your attention. I wish there was something more I could give you, but listen, one thing I can tell you, God loves us. He cares for us. These mountains are very representative of who God is. We can't get too far over to one side or the other. Man, we can scare people off if we talk about how judgmental God is. We can run away. But we can also sell them short if we just talk about how wonderful Jesus is. And we let ourselves create the God of our own desire. God is who he is. He's just, he's holy, his law is still true, and his judgment has already been made out of his son.
Can you pray for us, guys? Father, Lord, you shared with us in your word through Mark that, Lord, you love us, and because you love us, you discipline us. Lord, and your goal for discipline is holiness. And so, Father, I pray for us tonight that we really would take your word to heart, that we would understand that there may be those of us in here who are experiencing discipline, Lord, from you. And Lord, that goal, the purpose, the mission, the drive of all of it is to make us more like Christ. And so I pray that we would surrender those things to you, Lord, that there are things that are holding us back, that are weighing us down, that are keeping us from literally, as your word is calling and called these Hebrew people to lay aside every weight so that they would fall and run completely looking at you, that we would do the same, that we would lay aside every weight, that we would lay aside every sin, that we would lay aside every burden in our life that keeps us from becoming what you desire us to be, and that is a holy and righteous followers of you. And so, Lord, I'm grateful for Mark, I'm grateful for his heart and just his love for us tonight, and just the ability for him to share out of your word this truth that you shared with him. We're grateful for this time that we can come together as your bride, as your church, and as your community. So we love you. We give tonight to you, and we pray that you be with us, that we would seek to apply everything that we've heard tonight, or at least just one part, that we would just seek to look more like you tomorrow. So in your name we pray. Amen.